But it's so important. I call it the bloodline of the business. Banks are just becoming more careful and more focused on who the person is and their story, and not just their credit score and not just how much money they have in their cash flow. It's the big picture.
All right, welcome everybody to Take It to the Bank. That's Tim Bridgers. I'm Ryan Thogmartin. Let's get right into it. What are some of the times that a funeral home or a funeral director is going to need a loan? I think we could start off with just maybe an acquisition.
We can kind of start on the larger side and make our way to some of the smaller needs, which, by the way, some of the smaller needs are more predominant, in the life of a business. We actually interact with customers more on the smaller needs than the large ones. So when we think about the large needs, a lot of times we see customers surprised by this opportunity that they have an opportunity to buy a business they never thought they would, or a cluster of rooftops that they never thought they would. And I'm going to tell you, that can be overwhelming. The first thing that comes to mind for business owners is, gosh, how much cash do I need to put down on this loan, right? How much equity do I need? And that becomes, that creates a little anxiety. So that's a big one, an acquisition. And I would say that, and we're going to probably talk about this on a later podcast, but how to be prepared for that situation is very important, and we need to spend some time there. But yeah, the acquisitions is a big one. Expansion. We call it expansion acquisition if you're an existing owner that's buying another business, but we also have expansion of an existing operation. You may have a business that sees a wedding venue in their market, and they want to add that to their families, or they want to add a pet center or a pet loss center facility with a pet crematory on their site. So you have that expansion piece, and then you have renovation. Renovation's big, right? Yeah. A lot of funeral homes are going to a multi-use type finesse and facade, to where people come in, they don't feel like it's a funeral home, and now you have the community using the facility more. So we're actually funding a lot of owners, transforming their business to more of that non-special use type feel. And we're seeing that a lot. And then you have general working capital. So you think about a big marketing campaign and strategy.
Yeah. Well, this was an interesting one for me, because this is like we don't think of a loan or financing in this context, and this is creative.
It's important. And I'm going to tell you, for me, Ryan, we were breaking some bread together this morning, and we were talking about how much I love marketing, and then I'm surprised I'm not in marketing for my career. But it's so important to have to have some time for marketing in your day-to-day as a business owner, and to allocate some resources to invest in that. I call it the bloodline of the business. And without the bloodline of the business, you're not getting oxygen, you're not getting blood flow. And without marketing, your business is not getting any oxygen. You might be working off word of mouth, but your potential is so much bigger than that. So we actually have helped fund some pretty large marketing campaigns to help people do new signage, to rebrand their business, to create a flanker brand, or to create a website and to really upgrade their whole digital marketing presence. And we've seen that. And then, you think about equipment. I mean, goodness, we know cremation has been a growing trend, and not having a retort in some states is almost like not having the internet.
Yeah, that's right.
In terms of being able to really monetize that and take advantage of that margin. So the expansion of equipment is big. And then last, as we make our way kind of to some of the smaller dollar, and we have products for this from $10,000 to $500,000, and you're buying a hearse. We can actually do that for you now, whereas before it was a little difficult, but we can finance a hearse. We can finance the retort. And then you think of a line of credit, right? A line of credit, in my opinion, with us especially, is a lot better than using your business credit card.
Sure.
Right? There's some accountability around the line of credit. Okay. The bank is going to make sure you're using it in the right way. We're going to check your balances. If you're not using it, you're not paying interest on it. Right?
Yep.
And typically the rates, they are. The rates on a line of credit are much better than
25%
on a credit card. Yeah. So lines of credit is often overlooked by a business owner. It's not on their mind, but it's often said, you need a line of credit when you can't get it. And so we're seeing a lot of that as well.
I love it. I mean, those are such great examples, because it's not always that we're thinking about where are we going to get financing, why do we need financing or a loan. And I love some of the creative ideas that you guys bring to the table, and helping the funeral director with that strategy around it as well. Tell me a little bit just about that. Like, someone comes to you for a loan, it's just not like, okay, fill this out and then you transfer some money.
Yeah, it's not. And I'll tell you that if you don't have a relationship with the bank already, it just takes a lot more time. You know, banks since 2008, since last year, you know, the bank run we had, and that created a lot of turmoil for some banks and some problems. Banks are just becoming more careful and more focused on who the person is and their story, and not just their credit score and not just how much money they have in their cash flow. It's the big picture. Yeah. So if you can build a relationship with the bank, that request is going to make a lot more sense, and you're going to get guidance that is appropriate and accurate to your business. And that's the reason why you need to have a banking relationship. And choosing a bank that can provide all of that is the key. I'll tell you, in funeral service specifically, we understand all too well how important that local bank relationship is. Yeah. It's important. Yep. And there are ways to keep that. But if that relationship is holding you back from really being able to take the next step in your business to identify the needs and get that capital quick, then I think it's time to make a decision.
Well, then tell me, okay, Live Oak is a big bank with a small feel. Everybody's here on a campus in North Carolina. How are you having that one-on-one relationship with funeral professionals when you're located in North Carolina and your customers are all over the United States?
That's a great question. You know, I think let's take me for example, if I were spread among 10 to 15 different industries here at Live Oak, okay? And by the way, I'm only spread among 2. And funeral home is still my primary, okay? And up until late last year, it was 1 for the past 9 years.
Wow.
Now, if I were spread among 15 different industries and I were utilizing team members that were not, you know, didn't have awareness of the industry and understand the language, then that gets really, really difficult to go out and understand the associations and the events to contribute to and support. When you think of, you know, the ICCFA fund, you think about the NFDA funds and the things that are going on there with the foundation and all these things, selected independent, all these CANA, you know, you understand the need and you can share that wealth with those members, and that goes a long way. You're actually contributing, and through that contribution, you're building relationships and you're really understanding the need. But in addition to that, you're also understanding the business and what's appropriate in terms of capital and when it's appropriate. And if you're not committed and there and out there, you just can't understand that. And that's the advantage that we have, because me and my team, not just me, not just Tim, but me and my entire team that make this happen, all the way to the individuals who service the loans that are already closed and building those relationships, having them focused in this industry makes all the difference in the world.
Well, I think it's so interesting to me how a bank this size, not a small bank, insane campus, great people, you've been able to go really, really narrow, but really deep in death care.
Yeah.
Really deep. That's
right. And we, you know, you asked the question, how do you do that? Well, I mean, we started out what we call verticalized. We started that way by building teams for an industry and having an industry expert and building that out and then scaling to that. And now we have well over 30 of those teams. And then we have more general lenders too who do things that are not specialties, one-offs. But we've continued to scale with that expertise, and you see that in our credit quality, right? I mean, we're talking about loans and deposits and all the things we do. But when you look at our credit quality and credit quality translates to really healthy customers, and that is what the foundation of our bank is. If we don't have healthy customers, we don't have a bank.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I love it. Hey, there's more information you can take to the bank.
That's right.
Take to the bank. I think that name might stick for this thing.
I like it.
Take it to the bank.
Bring it.
With Tim.
Yep, I love it.
Okay, that wraps up episode 2.